Leave no one behind. This summarizes the challenges presented in the episodes preceding this one. I try to summarize the primary challenges faced by well-meaning governments who aim to realize the SDGs for their citizens and try to understand the country's justification for falling short of their agreed-upon targets. I must first compliment the achievements in globalizing education by almost eradicating illiteracy and attracting the population to choose education as the path to employment and a better quality of life. But all is not hunky-dory as developing countries continue to address the significant challenges faced by them related to good governance, debt stress, stagnant growth, and inadequate resources, resulting in a blinkered focus on improving the population's quality of life. While improving literacy and education levels of populations across the globe, it is interesting to know who benefits from this campaign. The industrial elite who own most resources and means of production, or the people who work for them. Building on the evidence captured in the Global Sustainable Development Report and on the lessons since 2015, the UN report clearly identifies a series of urgent actions for our consideration in 5 key areas. But when delivering on commitments, this report identifies a series of urgent actions for your consideration in 5 key areas. Where do we stand halfway to 2030? 1. Heads of state and governments are urged to recommit to 7 years of accelerated, sustained, and transformative action, both nationally and internationally, to deliver on the promises of the SDGs. Governments are called on to advance concrete, integrated, and targeted policies and actions to eradicate poverty, reduce inequality, and end the war on nature, with a particular focus on advancing the rights of women and girls and empowering the most vulnerable. Governments are urged to strengthen national and subnational capacity, accountability, and public institutions to deliver accelerated SDG progress. To ensure developing countries can deliver in the above areas, the international community is strongly encouraged to recommit to deliver on the Addis Ababa Action Agenda and to mobilize the resources and investments needed for developing countries to achieve the SDGs, particularly those in special situations and experiencing acute vulnerability. Member states are urged to facilitate the continued strengthening of the UN development system and to boost the capacity of the multilateral system to tackle emerging challenges and address SDG-related gaps and weaknesses in the international architecture that have emerged since 2015. This report also states the lack of progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals is universal, but it is abundantly clear that developing countries and the world's poorest and most vulnerable people are bearing the brunt of our collective failure. This is a direct result of global injustices that go back hundreds of years, but are still playing out today. The compounding effects of climate, COVID-19, and economic injustices are leaving many developing countries with fewer options and even fewer resources to make the goals a reality. My disappointment is magnified when reading the statement by the Secretary General, which reads, under current trends, 575 million people will still be living in extreme poverty in 2030, and only about 1/3 of countries will meet the target to halve the national poverty levels. Shockingly, the world is back at hunger levels not seen since 2005, and food prices remain higher in most countries than in the period from 2015 to 2019. The way things are going, it will take 286 years to close gender gaps in legal protection and remove discriminatory laws. And in the area of education, the impact of years of under investment and learning losses are such that by 2030, some 84 million children will be out of school, and 300 million children or young people who attend school will leave unable to read and write. While we watch the state of the world regress from a progressive development experience over the past millennia to its walking into an unknown abyss of anarchy, we can only surmise the negative impact the recent developments will have on the human population as focus on addressing obligations to support achieving the SDGs diminishes as the priority to survive becomes the forefront challenge. Over the 1,000 years of human development to universalize education, the progress achieved is a significant example of what can be achieved to bring about equality between humans unseen before this time. Education, once exclusive to certain groups, is now available to most across the globe, while basic literacy has already covered almost every inhabitant. It's comforting to know that Earth now speaks one language, but in varying tones. While efforts to ensure basic literacy is acceptable as a worldwide necessity, taking that forward to now include the population's access to higher qualifications and technical skills to service the demand for required services is the step nations have committed to addressing. However, the most important of the challenges most member states face is their inability to provide a long-lasting period of economic stability, during which time strategies to obtain and utilize resources essential for country development are optimized. The ongoing instability of poor nations prevents them from focusing on the education sector, while attention needs to be given to averting possible starvation and civil strife. Lifelong learning is crucial, but various barriers impede individuals and communities from engaging in continuous learning throughout their lives, like conflict, inflexible learning options, and the lack of a supportive environment. As organizations' primary focus is to improve its profitability, which is why it aims to hire skilled professionals who can contribute to its success while ensuring that their employment is a cost-effective investment. However, creating a learning environment that allows employees to enhance their quality of life beyond the needs of the organization is often overlooked as unnecessary for organizational continuity. This is despite its importance to employees who, after dedicating a significant part of their lives to their organizations, may not possess the skills to contribute to their community's development when faced with retirement or redundancies. Literacy, education, and lifelong learning continue to be essential to ensure a productive society. Statistics indicate basic literacy, the 3 Rs, to be widespread across the global population, accompanied by a significant increase in formal general and technical education institutions and completion rates. Society's understanding of education's relationship with economic well-being has created the most successful global campaign, with almost all having basic literacy and a rapidly growing population of men and women qualified in technical and non-technical skills. The Industrial Revolution showed the benefits of employing an educated and skilled workforce and the advantages of following good business practices that have led to the creation of a wide gamut of subject matter and the ability to specialize in a diverse range of subjects. There are no more blinkers that force a focus on a particular approach to achieving one's goals, with exploration as the new buzzword. With the ongoing tug of war between the haves and have-nots re-emerged as an event in October 23 between Israel and the Palestinians, the world has once again been reminded of the continuing but simmering conflict between the poor and the better off, between the desperate and satisfied, the lacking and opulent. This raises the question of what system can bring about equality between nations across the world. While almost everyone is happy with the concepts and practices of democracy, not many are satisfied with what capitalism brings to the equation. The reaction to 6 months of genocide by Israel in the West Bank of Gaza, aiming to ethnically cleanse these locations to resettle with Israeli settlers, has outraged most countries of the United Nations, except for the United States and a few European countries whose belief in the universal application of human rights does not serve their domestic or international interests, which center on profit making, irrespective of how it comes to them, even if it comes from genocide. The resistance of the developing nations against the dominance of the capitalist countries is now evident by their repeatedly voting for a ceasefire, which has continuously been vetoed by the United States and its allies, which also brings up the issue of the struggle for equality and access to markets, resources, and development funds that encourage equity. In summary, the efforts to spread education and improve learning among the global population have led to a better understanding of what the population values and how their inclusion in the decision-making process contributes to the preferred direction in which they desire to proceed. However, the increasing struggle to control natural resources and other creations that improve productivity or have marketable value tends to discount what benefits the population, highlight what benefits the few. Inclusive processes founded on democratic values are taking second place to capitalism, as they both contradict each other in many ways. The capitalism that has overshadowed the globe does not allow for the distribution of wealth and is based on the exploitation of the less advantaged in the process. The emergence of a social democratic system, as marketed by BRICS, might be the option being sought by the global population that has realized after decades of exploitation that sharing well-being is not impossible under a democracy.